You're listening to Have the Nerve, a podcast by Spinal Cord Injuries Australia. I'm Susan Wood, and this month we have a bonus episode for you. We're celebrating diversity of disability and highlighting spinal cord injury awareness for the entire month of September. In this episode, former Australian stealer and Paralympic wheelchair rugby gold medalist Naz Erdem joins me to talk about his life as a Paralympian across 5 Paralympic Games, his post-Paralympic career, and his hopes for the future of disability in sports. This episode is a recorded video interview, and you can watch it over at Spinal Cord Injuries Australia's YouTube channel. Thank you very, very much for joining me this afternoon.
Not a problem, Susan.
So you are part of the wheelchair rugby team. Do you perhaps want to give a bit of background as to how you actually got involved in the first place?
So I had a diving accident way back in 1990, so November 1990, and while I was going through rehab, the leisure workers, they told me about a game called wheelchair rugby, and I was in rehab for about 10 months, so it was really good to hear that there was a sport like that and people were playing socially. So we went out to the local competition just to check it out and went there with some other patients on that Wednesday night. And it was fantastic to see these guys, playing a game as a team together on court, and they weren't even concerned about their disability. So it was fantastic to see that they were crashing and banging into each other, having a laugh as well. Some people fell out of their chairs, and anytime you see someone fall out of a chair, you're going to say, "Oh shit," has he hurt himself? But they were laughing and making jokes, saying things like, I can't feel my legs and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, this is great, because they're not really worried about their disability. And I thought, this is going to be good for me, if I can get involved. So I loved it from the first time I saw it and thought it'll be a great idea to play only to continue my rehab and also get stronger and play a team sport and also learn from the other guys too, what kind of cars they drive, what sort of modifications they've got. Do they use slide boards? How do they get their chair apart? How do they get it into the car? So it was more of learning how they live their life as well, and also working towards my independence.
Yeah, so you were talking about sliding boards and just some real life world experiences. What were some of the key elements that you started learning from being surrounded by other people with similar disabilities than yourself?
Oh, it was great to see. Some of these guys were married, they had relationships, not only before their accidents, some of the guys had relationships after their injuries. So it was good to know that, you can meet a girl, you get married, have kids and all that sort of stuff, go out, drink if you wanted to, travel. And even though I heard that from the physios and nurses and all that in the rehab unit, hearing them telling or talking about their experiences, it was proof, it wasn't just someone telling me a story. It was evidence that these people were getting on with their lives and they were good lives as well.
So you've been in the 2000 games, 2004 games, 2008 games, 2012 games, 2016 games. Tell me about the training process to be part of a Paralympic team.
Okay, so when I first started, it wasn't about, my goal wasn't, going to the Paralympics, it wasn't traveling, it wasn't, playing 5 Paralympic games or anything like that. They were stuff that came along. The reasons I started was different, and just being good at it and sticking at it was really beneficial for me. The training program when I first started, it was just social. You just turn up once a week and play, Wednesday night. After that, I was selected a few years later into the state team, so we trained a couple of times a week, which was good. Just made me more fitter. And then when I made the Australian team in 97, 98, that was, again, it was like a 6-day training program. So it was pretty full on, something I had to follow to be the best that I could be.
I did a little bit of a stalk of your Instagram profile. Hope you don't mind.
Okay, that's all right.
And you mentioned in one of the posts that you thought that the Sydney 2000 games were the best games. What made it so awesome for you?
Yeah. Now, the Paralympic Games started in '64, I think, the first Paralympic Games. And they were just ad hoc, they'd just get some people playing different sports. So it was pretty amateurish. All the way to Atlanta. I think Atlanta was a little bit better. That was in '96, I think. I didn't go to that one. And wheelchair rugby was a demonstration sport, so it wasn't even a medal sport at that time. In Sydney, when we went there, it was just amazing. I think it's the first time I heard, and the media said it too. There were stories everywhere that it's the first time they used volunteers in such a huge capacity, where they were actually part of the games as well. And the organisation, it was very professional. All the facilities were great. I mean, I don't know where the Paralympians stayed during the previous games, but we used all the same facilities, all the same accommodation that the Olympians used as well. And yeah, everyone was just raving about Sydney being the best games ever, and it was from what I saw, I mean, there was not one thing I thought that they could have improved. And previous Paralympians, said the same thing as well.
That being your, I guess, debut experience into the Paralympic Games must have been unreal, considering all the other Paralympic Games you had probably watched beforehand.
It was like a dream in a way, because you never expect to be there at such a huge event. All of our games were sellouts as well. I mean, there were people trying to sneak in and, buy tickets from the black market and all that. I mean, it's funny to say that, but it was true. Yeah. When I couldn't even get tickets for my friends to watch the games. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And pretty much everywhere you went, I mean, people asking for autographs. I mean, that's weird, why would you want my autograph? I mean, that's the way I looked at it. People wanting photos. It was just pretty crazy.
Your last Paralympics Games was 2016. What have you been doing since then?
Well, since then, I haven't given rugby up fully. I mean, I still play locally, still play, for Victoria. I try out for COVID's been, a big problem, of course. We haven't been able to play or train in wheelchair rugby for 18 months now. But after I retired, I was invited by BSF, which is an organisation like Wheelchair Sports Australia, I guess, in Indonesia. So they're based in Bali. So they invited me and another player to come coach and play in one of the teams over there. So ever since, I've been going away to the tournaments they have in Southeast Asia. So Singapore, for example, Bali, Vietnam, all those sorts of places. So I've taken the team up, like an Australian team up whenever we've gone there. And the idea is to coach them and give them experience against, really experienced players as well. So, and that's been fantastic, and that's an area that I want to continue working with and playing in Southeast Asia, not only competing, but teaching them the game, doing some coaching with them as well.
Yeah. So I guess watching all these younger people with disabilities come out and participate more in sport and social and community activities. I guess my final question to you is, what are your hopes for the future of adaptive sports?
And my hopes are that, they get better and better. I mean, there's so many sports that people aren't aware of. I was just telling someone the other day, I've been to 5 Paralympic Games and you see all the other athletes, from the Australian teams in other sports. I feel bad about this, but I actually didn't know what sports they played because I was concentrating on the wheelchair rugby. This time, though, a lot of the athletes, they're familiar. I know them, and I was able to watch what sports they played. So I felt bad not knowing before, and seeing them in action this time has been really good for me. Just the other sports and the other athletes, what they do as well. I mean, that's been an eye opener for me. I just hope that continues. And with the telecast that Channel 7 done this year, I mean, it's the best ever. You know, they had it on for hours each day live.
I think it was
showing different
14 hours or
sports.
something.
Yeah,
Each
I mean,
day.
that's crazy. That's so fantastic. And not only that, they had the streaming service as well on 7 Plus. So it's really good that, you know, the Australian community is interested and sharing it, you know, promoting it as well. I mean, that's really good for us to see that, you know, people appreciate what we do.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, representation matters, right? So
It does.
Yeah, so if you're represented on a regular streaming service or mainstream television,
Yeah.
and it's not because it's just like a quota, but it's because they
Yeah.
legitimately take interest, that's the best bit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, going back to Sydney, the papers would have an article here and there. On the news, it would show as in play of the day, you know, 10 seconds at the end of the news, they'd have play of the day and show, you know, wheelchair rugby or one of the other sports. And that was it. You know, this is going back years and years ago. But now every channel is showing it. Everyone's talking about it, which is fantastic. I saw something come up. It's probably it's an issue at the moment, and people are picking up on it as well. The Olympians actually, you know, gold medalists get 20,000 or something like that. Silver medalists get 15,000, but that doesn't transfer to the Paralympians. I mean, the gold medalists, they get zero, for example. And yeah, so there's a lot of people, I've been seeing it on the internet, that are saying, you know, that's pretty unfair. Same goes with able-bodied sports as well. You know, you got the men's tennis, for example, and the females tennis. The prize money is not the same. It's been getting better. So it's the same issue with the Olympics and Paralympics, I think, now. Yeah. I mean, we don't do it for the money, but, you know, I would have loved to have got 20,000 had I won a gold medal. That would have been really good.
You won.
I won. That's right. And yeah, that's the thing. You know, you try to be the best you can, and if you achieve, you know, fantastic. And if you don't, you know, that doesn't matter so much as well. You know, because for a lot of people, it's about competing. You know, it's not about being the. Well, it is. You know, hoping to be the best in the world, but if you're not able to, you know, big deal in a way, you know, but yeah, I guess the issue now is quality, you know, and does that matter to people?
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's, we can only see go up and see more of a change as people become more familiar with the Paralympics at all, other adaptive sports, more people with disabilities getting out in society, just doing whatever, you know, integrating into society and inclusiveness.
Right. People have got to realise that, you know, we don't just show up and compete on the day. You know, like I said, you know, we're training 6 days a week like any other professional athlete, but we're not rewarded because we do that. Some people want to be rewarded, some people don't, you know, but yeah, you know, it'd be good to have that discussion as well.
All right, Naz, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Yeah, it was very insightful. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Susan.
On the day Naz and I recorded, the Australian government announced that the Australian Paralympic medal winners will receive equal financial reward to their Olympic counterparts. For the Tokyo 2020 Games, the Australian Paralympic team sent their largest contingent of athletes. They came back with 21 gold, 29 silver and 30 bronze medals. When everyone comes together, not just people with disabilities but our able-bodied counterparts, we see true equality and society change. We're sharing stories of disability representation, diversity and information on our social media all month. If you want to read them, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and LinkedIn. And if you like this episode and you like this podcast, please give us a 5-star review if you're listening to this through Apple Podcasts. Thank you for listening.